Last month, the National Pro Bono Resource Centre issued its final report on Australia's major law firms. Peter, tell us what it showed.
Well, on the face of it, I think a very positive story. So it was a survey of 24 leading Australian law firms, which showed between them over the year there had been 300,000 hours of pro bono legal advice and support. And that works out overall about 28 hours per lawyer a year. There is an aspiration target that's been set, which is actually 35 hours of pro bono free legal advice per year per lawyer, and that's what's being moved towards.
So let's discuss this in a little bit more detail. We're delighted to welcome to Social Business Annette Bain. Annette is Executive Director of the Freehills Foundation and Pro Bono Council Freehills. Annette, we really appreciate your time on this one. But just with the news at hand of the flooding actually getting worse across Queensland, and we've just been talking about the human impact of it, do you expect there to be a response from the legal community, just as we speak about pro bono advice in the industry?
Yeah, a couple of years ago when we had the devastating bushfires in Melbourne, in fact that's what happened. Various leading law firms and the Public Interest Law Clearinghouse in Melbourne and Legal Aid down there got together and put together a clinic, a legal clinic specifically for the needs of people who are facing, loss of home, loss of identity papers and so forth. I would think that this week we will contact the Queensland Public Interest Law Clearinghouse to consider how we can play a similar role.
Because presumably there's a lot of people who don't know if they're insured or whether they're insured enough or how to actually get access to insurance, all those sort of things.
All of those things, and of course, at this minute, can either of you tell me where your insurance papers are, for example?
Yeah. And what it would cover me for.
Absolutely, and people at this great time of vulnerability are precisely being asked that, and other more basic ID papers, like your driver's licence.
So what is the kind of advice that they're seeking from you in this situation?
Well, how to go forward,
sure,
and then what they can do, how they need help. Now, in fact, a lot of them can be helped by some of the terrific services you mentioned earlier that are being set up by the government, federal and state, to assist. But for others, and time will tell, different things will come out of it, can do with animals or, people's properties and things that are the whole range of issues.
And small business, farmers, all of that.
Business, things to do with, funerals, it depends and how best you can help. Usually what happens in this model, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, which is this cross-sectoral model between different types of agencies, is we can each bring our own skills to it and make something unique, customise the legal services for the need.
Let's just go back to the beginning.
Sure.
I mean, on the face of it, I have to say many people will be surprised that so much free legal advice is being given by our law firms. I mean, do you see it positively, or is there still a long way to go?
I do see it positively. I think it's going really well, and in terms of assessing how far it's come, given first documented evidence of pro bono was in the 1500s in the UK, how good is it now? I think it's really positive. We can always do better, become more strategic in how we go about it, but I think while it is a professional responsibility that we do participate in pro bono, I've always found that the most lawyers do say yes as soon as they're asked. They're very keen to do it.
And what sort of areas more generally are likely to be asked, where help's asked for?
Okay, if I speak of our example at Freehills, the areas where we spend most of the hours are in our core business, things we're doing anyway, whether it's in our employment relations area, whether it's litigation, corporate, because even individuals require some of that, and of course the charity clients we assist require that. So that and the secondments we place in different legal centres each take up about, say, 13,000 hours of our program. After that, we have a number of legal clinics, homeless people, victims' compensation, a fines practice, that around about the 8,000 mark, and then I think of, may I say, jewels in our crown, if you like, the charity law practice based from Melbourne, and our Shopfront Youth Legal Service here in Sydney for homeless kids.
What do you see as the benefits to your law firms and other law firms
Sure.
for providing the advice?
I think it does give you a chance to fulfil that sense of responsibility and access justice. We talk about access to increasing access to justice and opportunity, which obviously is a really positive model. I think specifically it helps with the morale, if you like, in a firm. It helps with people's being a part of the community. In past times, people saw it as a recruitment bonus, but these days that's almost value neutral because everyone's doing it, so there's no differentiation.
But it is expected. Our best and brightest graduates will now
absolutely, and they do, and I think that is a really profound message. And of course, people who do participate have the opportunity to skill up in other areas, improve their own core skills, but they find other life experiences a chance to really develop professionally and personally.
Now, I heard that the Commonwealth Government is setting some tender requirements to law firms. So what is the Commonwealth Government requiring and how that's going to support pro bono?
All right. It's about in the guidelines when work is being put out to tender for government contract, the particular department or agency must ask what pro bono work is the firm doing at the moment, and or is the firm a signatory to the National Pro Bono Resource Centre's target, and other questions. This is a little different to the Victorian model, which is mandatory. In that state, firms that do Victorian government work are expected to provide 15% of the value of the work to social justice.
Actually using procurement.
Yes, they are.
Can I just ask you a final question?
Sure.
Tricky one. I mean, to what extent are you and other law firms having to do this because government isn't doing enough? I mean, the question is, why doesn't government just provide all this free legal aid?
I think what we do can be different. It's not just replicating, and many of us would like to think we don't. We're not doing what legal aid could do. We're doing something that is different and unique in the same way a private foundation may be able to assist in a way that a government department cannot.
Do you try to measure the impact, on the social impact, or is it just about feeling good and morale?
No, it is substantially more than just that. Obviously, we measure in numbers everything we do, but it's about we ask ourselves, why are we doing this? We try and set specific objectives that we can then test. We have external reviewers from time to time, and we speak regularly with those not-for-profit sector and others that we're working with to ensure that we are trying to make some impact. That is really, really hard. I don't need to tell you that, Peter.
Annette Bain, Executive Director of the Freehills Foundation and also Pro Bono Council Freehills. Thank you very much for your time on the program.
Thanks,